Hey there, it's summertime in beautiful British Columbia. As you can see, I'm well dressed for summer, a t-shirt, commando, no pants. Hello and welcome to Touchdown BC. I'm Ryan Sullivan. We are still in the TDBC lounge. When you see us next, it'll be in our new digs at the Shaw studio. That is, of course, if the check's clear. They probably won't. This is the second and last off-season edition of the show, but we've got plenty of news to pass your way. We start at the BC Evaluation Camp, which was held in Minaroo Park in Richmond. This camp features the best under 16 and 18-year-old high school football players from across the province. And here's our man on the scene, Andrew Wadden, with a full rundown.
120 of the top U18 football players from across the province met on the May-long weekend at Minaroo Park in Richmond, BC for the Team BC tryout camp. 72 U16 players also attended the two-day camp that was comprised of drills and scrimmages, which were also taken in by coaches from across the top CIS schools across the nation. UBC, University of Manitoba, University of Guelph, University of Western Ontario, Carleton University, and the University of Alberta all had coaches attend the two-day camp. University of Manitoba head coach Brian Doby was there. The longtime Bison's head man has always looked to BC for recruits and feels the way Football BC runs their camps is the reason he loves to come west in search of players.
It's unbelievable what Football BC is doing here in the overall structure and of the camp. It's not just the on-field part of it. I mean, you know, every year the talent's going to fluctuate. Some years are going to be better than others, different recruiting classes. But it's the whole format. They're immersed at a really nice hotel. It's very classy. It's very professional. There's a recruiting night. There's opportunities to talk to players. There's opportunities to meet parents. It's just the on-field part of the structure is great. You've got two fields in this venue. You've got the U16s over there. You've got the U18s here. You're seeing everything, but it's the off-field stuff that you wouldn't see unless you're immersed in it that is really the cherry on top of the cake.
On the final night of the camp, the players and coaches met at the Sheraton Vancouver Airport Hotel, where the coaches got a chance to speak to the players as well as speak with them one-on-one. Carleton Ravens head coach Steve Sumara attended the camp for a second straight year, and he knows how valuable these types of camps across Canada are for his program.
To me, this has been phenomenal, and you have this many good kids in the province at one spot in one location to be able to compare them, then go back and compare them to the other ones. We were in Ontario doing them. I'll be in Nova Scotia, in Alberta. So now we get to start to see the kids across the country and where they fit.
After the dust settled on the weekend, the 120 U18 players were cut down to 61, with the final roster of 36 players to be named in mid-December following one final evaluation camp. The U18 team will compete in the annual FBU Showcase in San Antonio, Texas in late December, while the U16 players were broken down into two teams, Team Blue and Team Orange, that competed at the Red River Cup at Investors Group Field in Winnipeg, Manitoba in early July. For all the information on how the U16s fared, go to playfootball.bc.ca. Reporting for Touchdown BC, I'm Andrew Wadden.
The SFU Clan held their annual Gathering of the Clan breakfast at the end of May. The 5th annual event was held at the Vancouver Convention Centre in downtown Vancouver. Andrew Wadden was there. This guy's everywhere. And he files this report.
The 5th annual SFU Gathering of the Clan fundraising breakfast took place on May 30th at the Convention Centre in downtown Vancouver. The event brings together SFU Clan alumni and supporters where they celebrate the history and the future of SFU athletics. The host for the evening was legendary Canadian sportscaster Brian Williams, who was supposed to be joined by Super Bowl champion Richard Sherman of the Seattle Seahawks. However, due to conflicts in his schedule, Sherman was replaced by Saskatchewan Roughriders QB Darian Durant and via satellite Sherman's Seahawks teammate Russell Wilson. Born in South Carolina but having played most of his professional career in the CFL, Durant spoke on how the times are changing for the Canadian athlete.
I think that as time progresses, I think more and more scholarships will be available for students here in Canada. Athletics in Canada is growing left and right. When I got to Canada back in 2006, you didn't see a lot of great Canadian athletes, but now they're everywhere around the country, and I'm just so glad to see that a great university like this is able to basically give scholarships to kids. It's a wonderful thing.
Wilson, who too grew up in the Carolinas, was a two-sport athlete, but the Super Bowl champion stressed how the importance of a sports scholarship is not just a means to a career in sports.
I knew where I wanted to go and how to get there, and that was by continuing to work on my education first of all. My parents always told me that education has to come first, because if I don't have my education, football or baseball could end any day.
The event was a great success for SFU Athletics, who raised $242,400 towards future athletic scholarships. The Clan's upcoming football season begins on September 6th, where they'll play host to Menlo College in an exhibition game. The team will begin GNAC conference play on September 13th, when Western Oregon takes on the Clan at their new but old digs at Swangard Stadium. For Touchdown BC, I'm Andrew Wadden.
Still with university ball, as we reported last month, the UBC Thunderbirds created a new general manager position and filled the job with former Abbotsford Heat executive Justin McIntyre. Touchdown BC producer Jim Mullin sat down with the T-Birds' new GM.
Justin, good that you could come in and join us here. For people that follow Canada West football, something like a general manager is a little different in terms of football operations. What is your role, and what is the intention of the university and the boosters, mainly the TFA, in terms of creating this role for general manager?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, Jim. The role that I'm currently in as general manager of the football program is a new role brought on by Ashley Howard, the managing director of athletics and recreation. And so what the position is currently designed to do, and what I'm moving forward at breakneck pace leading into the start of a season coming around the corner quickly, is to fundamentally generate revenue and get the football program in a situation where full building, in control of our destiny as it relates to revenue streams, and then applying all of what we do into developing the best student athletes we possibly can, and win championships, Vanier Cup and Hardy Cups along the way.
Now, there are a number of teams across Quebec and Ontario, and even the Saskatchewan Huskies, who have done a great job of not only reaching out to their student base, but also the community. It seems that with every successful CIS football team, they do a good job of mixing community and students and creating a great fan experience and a very good fan base. UBC, I think their attendance median-wise was 26 out of 27 teams last year. How, over this 5-year period that you're looking at, how do you propose to bridge that gap?
So that's an excellent question. I suppose if I knew the answer right out of the gate, we'd be moving light years ahead much quicker. The challenge that we have is I believe on campus we need to engage students at the first opportunity. So Jumpstart Day, when we have the program that engages the student body as they're fresh on campus for the first time. We need to have the football program in front of these people. We need to start to develop a culture of supporting Thunderbirds, varsity athletics, and all sport on campus at a very early stage. So we basically indoctrinate the student body, and for that matter, faculty, staff, and even the residential and business community on campus. So that's a process, and that will never happen in a season or 2 seasons. That's cultural. And it's going to require a lot of effort from a lot of people to get to that finish line. But I believe that what that does ultimately is it helps foster that ongoing campus support, which translates down the line once you get into them being alumni, whether they're faculty alumni or varsity sport alumni. They're already starting to think as they leave the campus and start their careers and their lives outside of school, they're already sort of pre-programmed to want to support and hopefully bring their families out as they move on to the organizations and watch the sports. Now, when you start talking about the community at large, again, that's a bigger program. I mean, you talk about being a part of Coach Olson, Coach Friesen, and Coach Rossetti. They just at the new Westminster High Axe football camp last week. I went and visited them, and the time that they spend with amateur football and grassroots football, helping to develop the sport. Well, we need to make sure we're in those opportunities, whether it's coaching opportunities or whether it's myself, whether it's us supporting it through ticketing initiatives or having our players or other staff on board. We need to find a way to engage grassroots football. That's one of the low-hanging fruit that we can go after in terms of helping to foster the community of Thunderbirds football and fan affinity or avidity towards that. And then residential and consumers, just the B2C business of selling tickets. There is that notion that once you leave campus, it's the University of British Columbia football program it doesn't have a whole lot of traction, and I don't think I'm saying anything that people would be surprised at. We need to find a way to create that traction and manufacture it. It goes back to the point about creating 4 events, hopefully 5, a season where people can really, galvanize their energy and effort to coming out and watching a few football games.
Justin, best of luck on this. I know that a lot of us were very charged up to hear that you were taking over the position of general manager out at UBC, and we look forward to seeing the changes happen over the next few years.
Thanks a lot.
If you've watched our other show, Crown Countdown U, and I know you have, you will recognize the name Billy Green. Not only was he a panelist on KCU, he's also the former starting quarterback of the UBC Thunderbirds, and he's one of only 3 T-Birds to have ever won the Heck Creighton Award as the top CIS football player in the country. After his CIS career was over, Green turned down an opportunity to play in the CFL. Instead, he took his talents to Sweden to pursue a professional career on the gridiron. Here he is, live via Skype from the land of IKEA and those delicious, scrumptious meatballs, and our own Jim Mullin.
Well, Wally Buono told me once that if you're a Canadian quarterback, maybe the best thing you can do to get experience is go play in Europe. And you know one guy that probably took that advice? Well, he's on Skype right now from Sweden, of all places. Billy Green, former UBC quarterback and Heck Creighton Award winner, is with us. Bill, good to see you.
Hey, Jim, how's it going?
So tell me, how did all of this come to pass that you ended up playing football in Sweden? Because I know you had an opportunity to go play H-back with a CFL team, but you chose to stick with your position of quarterback and turn it into a global trek, so to speak.
Yeah, I sure did. Well, obviously, as you know, and I'm sure other people know, Coach Olsen at UBC, he played over in Vienna for I don't know how long, 5, 6, 7 years, and also coached before moving back to Vancouver. So after my career was done, I kind of weighed my options with him, and we kind of together came to the conclusion that football for me is so entrenched in me being a quarterback. So we went over the options for me playing quarterback, and he had some contacts over here. And my head coach for this team here in Sweden is Terry Kleinsmith, who played at SFU back at the same time as Coach Olsen was playing at UBC. So he had that contact for me. So he basically messaged Terry for me, which was great. Got in touch with Terry, and then it kind of just went from there. Sent him film. He sat down with the board of directors with the team, some players, went over kind of, I think, 2 or 3 other quarterbacks as well. And fortunately enough for me, they decided to pick me and bring me over.
Tell me what life is like there for someone who's earning a paycheck playing football. I know that during my time in Europe, when I was announcing basketball there for a number of years, I came across a number of basketball and hockey players who were getting a modest salary, but they were getting a car and an apartment, and they were living a fairly comfortable life throughout the course of the season. Is it the same thing for you?
Yeah, it's pretty much similar to that. We on a day-to-day basis, I have no living expenses, which is huge. I have a room and a house with the other import players. We have 2 meals a day at a restaurant that's right in town. We have basically everything's taken care of there. We have our insurance taken care of. Our phones are taken care of. internet. So for us, there's really nothing day to day other than anything extra that you want, maybe a meal or something quick like a snack. So that's good there. And then we get a salary on top of that, which isn't anything crazy, but it's enough to that I can take a week vacation in our bye week or something like that in a month. So in that sense, it's pretty good, and it's a way to see a different part of the world.
How competitive is the level of football over there? I know you passed along a link to me to watch one of your games online. It didn't look too bad. It's certainly a beautiful area of the world to play football in as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Everyone here, especially because everyone speaks English, which is huge. So for me as a coach for the youth teams and then a player coach on the team that I'm playing at, that's huge. And then the level of football in our division is kind of cut in half. There's 5 really good teams and 4 really bad teams. But on a individual basis, there's tons of great players here, and they all have national teams. So usually the teams will show how good a team is by their number of national team players. So our defense right now, I think we have 6 national team players, all of whom start, and then we also have an American import who's our defensive coordinator, who's very, very, very good. So our defense is good. We have 1 national team guy on offense, but I think that our offense is a little bit underrated. Whereas we play a team this week like Karlstad, which is about 4 hours away. They have the Swedish national team quarterback, and they're probably the top team right now. They've won 4 championships in a row, I think. So you get games like that, and the next 2 after that are against Örebro and Uppsala. So those 3 teams and us, and then Kristianstad was a team that we played the first game of the season. So there's about us 5 that are really good, and then you'll have games like we've had the last 3 weeks where we should probably win by 30-plus points and get in younger guys and some guys who won't get as much playing time in the big games.
You know, I was talking with Jordan Heather after he won the Heck Creighton Award when I was in Quebec City last year at the Vanier Cup, and he said that he was looking to go play in Europe. Would you recommend this as a path for an athlete who's looking to continue to play their game, especially if they want to stay as a quarterback? Obviously, we saw Brad Sinopoli, a guy who was looked at as a quarterback, the Calgary Stampeders, for 2 years before he moved over to receiver. But, based upon your experience, would you recommend this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's tremendous. You get to come over here, see a different part of the world, get to play the game you love. So it's, for me, I'm enjoying it so much. I'm thankful to this team for the opportunity, obviously, but anybody who's thinking about it, they should definitely. And Jordan actually just finished playing in France. So he ended up, I'm not sure how long he was over here for. It might have only been 4 to 6 weeks, but he's planning on going back again. And I know I've talked to Kyle Quinlan as well, and he was asking me some questions about it, and he's thinking about coming over and playing next year. So I think it's kind of, for Canadian quarterbacks, you realize that the level of football in Europe is growing, and you have a lot of really, really top teams. So it's not like you're going down a level, it's either going up a level or kind of a lateral move from university.
Find it even just the slightest bit ironic that Canadian quarterbacks are a valued quantity in Europe, whereas they're not in their own country?
Yeah, it is ironic, and it's actually funny because I faced the whole, oh, this guy's Canadian thing here. And I know it happens in other countries as well, where they'll see an American quarterback and they'll be like, oh, American football, the American will be 10 times better. But I've noticed that a lot of these American quarterbacks who come over, they're good and they're talented, but the level of talent that we have of our university talent coming over here as well is probably better on our end. And that was one of the things that Terry told me when I was coming over here. He's like, you're going to do just fine. And I'm one guy who knows that a Canadian quarterback can do well over here. And that was kind of funny for me getting it at home, but then also reading in the media in the preseason, I guess it would be, that all everyone's like, oh, like these guys are going to be good. Their defense is going to be great, but who knows what they're going to have at quarterback. And then after 4 games, everyone's like, oh, wow, like their football in Canada is actually pretty darn good. So it's kind of ironic and really funny.
Well, Billy, thanks a lot for doing this. We appreciate the time and continue to represent us over there in Sweden.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Jim.
The BCFC season gets started in late July with the VI Raiders looking to defend their Cullen Cup title for the 2nd straight year. Will the Raiders be the class of the league once again? Well, here's our Alex Carrigan with a full preview.
We're set to have another great year in the British Columbia Football Conference. Let's run through the 6 teams and see how they're going to be doing this year. The West Shore Rebels are hoping to be competitive this year and have signed 2 head coaches to make sure of it. Andrew Axhorn and Tom Fung will share the head coaching job. Axhorn has coached with the Edmonton Huskies and St. Francis Xavier X-Men. Fung has won multiple championships as defensive coordinator with the Mount Douglas Rams. The Rebels are also banking on a heavy focus on local recruiting. In the WAC, the Valley Huskers are looking to build with a new name and a new head coach. Adam Smith's goal is to change the reputation of the Huskers to a winning organization. Missing the playoffs last year also adds motivation for the Valley. Quarterback Braden Shirley returns to play his senior year as he sat out last year to work in the oil sands. The Kamloops Broncos have the nicest facility in the BCFC. The BC Lions hold their training camps there every season. No doubt that helped expose slotback Derek Yakison, who signed with the Lions. Yakison was a standout for the Broncos, and his presence will be missed both on and off the field. Last year, the Broncos wrestled the 4th playoff spot from the Valley. The next step for the Broncos is to win their first playoff game. The Okanagan Sun are looking to shine in the BCFC. Boasting more than 50 returning players, there shouldn't be too much turnover for the Sun. The positions they did lose are big, though, as Shane Beatty's squad is looking for a newer, younger offensive line to open holes for rookie running back Corey Nagata. The biggest losses for the Sun are to their defense, which was ranked number 1 in the BCFC last year. The last time Jeff Alamalota was the head coach of the Langley Rams, they made it to the national championship game. After a year off, Alamalota's back, and the whole conference is looking at Langley. Big turnover for the Rams defense as they lost multiple players, including defensive lineman Evan Foster, who set the single-season CJFL sack record in 2013. The offense is set for big things, however, as Lions rookie camp invitee Nathan Lund returns. Him and fellow running back Kyle Albertini led the top rushing attack in the BCFC last year. The Vancouver Island Raiders are a perennial contender. Celebrating their 10th year in the BCFC, the Raiders have won 7 BCFC titles, and the defending champs are hoping a new coach and new stadium upgrades will lead to old winning ways. New head coach Brian Ridgway is a true rookie head coach with no coaching experience. He has played for the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL and maintains the goal remains a national title. The Raiders have a young squad but are still the team to beat on the island. That's your BCFC preview. Enjoy the season. For Touchdown BC, I'm Alex Carrigan.
Now we're joined by Dom Abbasi, our BCFC insider. Dom, welcome back to Touchdown BC.
It's good to be back, Jim.
First of all, let's talk about the team in your neck of the woods, the VI Raiders. They have a brand new head coach in Brian Ridgway. He doesn't have a whole lot of coaching experience. Tell me about his transition to being a head coach and how important it was for him to be an alumni of the program.
Well, I think the fact that he was an alumni was more important to the team in their selection process than it was to him personally. I think the concept of having an alumni come back was just so attractive to the board of directors and the people involved in the hiring process. And really, as far as his transition goes, it's going to be more learning how to be a head coach in a junior football organization, and that involves finding jobs for your players, finding housing for your players, making sure your players are happy, trying to deal with a board of directors to get money, and learning how to function in an organization, because Brian is one of these players who was almost like a coach when he was playing and really took pride in learning the game of football. So as far as being able to teach and learn and understand football, that's not an issue for him, but all the other things that come with being a head coach, that's a real steep learning curve for anyone.
Now, speaking of board of directors and coaches and organizational structure, the Okanagan Sun looked like they were ready to go to Canada West in 2016. The Canada West has put a moratorium on all their schools in terms of starting new programs. And there seems to be a lot of miscommunication around this issue up in Kelowna right now between the university and the football organization itself. What is the feeling inside the BCFC right now of the Okanagan Sun ever moving to the CIS?
I really think that it's unchanged, Jim. I think that people that are close to the issue and are knowledgeable on the issue, they're not biting on this anymore. They've kind of said, look, talk to us when something becomes reality, because it feels like in my 10 plus years of involvement in the BCFC, it's been the same story. We're very close. We're right on the edge. Only one or two things need to fall into place. And every time that next one or two things falls into place, 3 or 4 more things pop up at the end of it that don't allow it to fall into place. So I think for people that are close to the issue in the BCFC here, it's sort of a talk to me when you've got something tangible. Otherwise, we're just talking about a lot of hypotheticals that people are starting to believe might never happen.
Because of continuity, would you suggest that maybe the Langley Rams are the favorite coming into this year?
Yeah, absolutely. They're the team that I have pegged as a favorite. They're just in such an amazing ground, a middle area to recruit. They do so great in all those very talented lower mainland schools. And now what's started happening, because a lot of the football BC provincial events, practices, Senior Bowl, whatever these things are happening, they happen in and around Langley's area. And their coaches are all over these things recruiting, and they've actually pulled some of the top recruits from the Nanaimo Redmen and out of the Cowichan football program. They've committed to go over and play for Langley this season. They seem to be offering something that is very tantalizing to young recruits, and geographically they're in a fantastic position. Jeff Alamahota back in a head coaching role this year. So yeah, the Rams are the team to beat in my estimation right now.
Dom Abbasi, as always, thanks very much for this.
Jim, anytime.
Thanks a lot for that, gentlemen. Community football is getting ready for another season for all ages across the province. It's registration season. Here's how you can get involved in your community. Well, that does it for us. That is a wrap for the off-season edition of Touchdown BC. When you see us next in September, we'll be on our new set here at the Shaw Studio, and I may own 2 suit jackets. I probably won't, but the set thing was true. Until then, you have an awesome summer. For Jim Mullin, Andrew Wadden, Alex Carrigan, and myself, Ryan Sullivan, we'll see you again in the fall.